Hey tribe, welcome back to Live Life on Your Terms. I'm Chad, by the way, just in case you're new here. In this video, you're going to want to watch this video because in this video, I'm going to try to be to the point as possible because we're going to discuss the law of inverse transformation. It sounds confusing, but I'm going to explain it very clearly. And this is where really the phase where we end up giving up. We end up throwing in a towel. We end up thinking this isn't working. Okay, no matter if you're trying to live life on your terms, trying to become that most successful version of you, you're trying manifesting whatever, or you're just kind of going through a gunk phase where it's like, why is this happening? Okay, so this is what we're going to talk about today. So other than that, let's jump over and get going. Okay, tribe, the law of inverse transformation. Let me put on my handy dandy glasses here. And the law of inverse transformation, actually Napier talks a lot about this law, and he talks about it in his book, Prayer, The Art of Believing, but he really kind of explains it kind of confusing. So I'm putting it kind of more black and white. So let's get going. Neville's principle was if you can mentally create the end, the path to that end will automatically rearrange itself even if it looks backwards, opposite, or wrong in the moment. So let me get the highlighter going. So this is what the law of inverse transformation means. So let me read it one more time for you. Listen, if you can mentally create the end, the path to the end will automatically rearrange itself. Now, this is where most people give up and throw in a towel. This is where weird stuff starts happening in your life. Okay, listen, even if it looks backwards, opposite, or in the wrong moment. This is the law of inverse transformation. So what do we mean by this? Is your physical world will often move in reverse before it moves forward. You understand what I'm saying? Listen to this. You've been studying manifesting. You've been studying living life in your terms. Okay. You're trying to take control of your ship, your life. And no matter how hard you work, no matter how hard you work on manifesting, how hard you work on yourself, it seems like circumstances in your life, you're kind of moving in the wrong direction. You feel that way, okay? And this is something I actually went through just recently. This is why I want to share this with you. It's so strong, so powerful. So why does this happen? Listen, because consciousness, the cause, restructures your world, the effect. Now, this is the law of cause and effect. Now, really fast, the law of cause and effect is this. The effect is your 3D world. Okay, what you're going through right now, the good and the ugly, okay, your perception of it. The effect is you. So if you want to change the effect, you change the cause, which is you and how you're thinking, how your outlook, your beliefs and everything. But this isn't about the law of cause and effect. So why is this happening? Let me reread it. Because consciousness, the cause, restructures your world, the effect, in the most efficient pattern. But to you, with your limited view, the movement can appear opposite of what you asked for. This is why inverse transformation, okay? Let's say you want to be wealthy, you're acting wealthy, you're living in the end, you're making decisions as a wealthy person, but the opposite keeps on occurring to you. Debt keeps on running in. You have all these extra expenses just out of nowhere, okay? That's what's happening. So that opposite movement is still movement toward the goal. See, this is your walk away. When things start happening in your life, you're actually closer to your goal than you think, okay? It's basically almost the last testing moment. I kind of look at it as a test before your breakthrough happens, before you actually get what you want, okay? You get that desire. That's how I look at it. Okay, so I'll read it one more time. The opposite movement is still movement toward the goal. You have to look at it like that. You have to reframe it. Another way to look at it is life is happening for you. Life is happening for your benefit. You see, all this is the law of inverse transformation. But let's dig a little bit deeper. Let's make more sense of this so you can really walk away with this. And this will really keep you in the game here, my friends. The core idea, when you imagine the end, like Napier, you imagine living the end, you imagine acting as if you're dwelling therein, you're dwelling in the end. Okay, you already have what you want. You already have that dream car. You want to be wealthy, you're already wealthy today, so act like it. Okay, so when you imagine the end, Listen, the world may respond with something that looks contradictory, opposite, or inconvenient. Okay, the opposite ends up happening. That's what I'm saying. The opposite happens to you. And this is why a lot of people throw in the towel. A lot of people say law of attraction don't work, law of assumption don't work. Because they're being that most successful version of them. They're being that higher self, and lower consciousness stuff keeps on happening to them. Now read it one more time, as I didn't finish the whole sentence. The world may respond with something that looks contradictory, opposite, or inconvenient, but that contradiction, I'll highlight this for you, is actually the bridge to manifesting. This is why I like to call it like almost like life is testing you. The universe is testing you right before it's going to give you what you want. You understand this? Okay, listen. It's the world unbuilding the old state, your old you, your old identity, so it can build the new one. The inverse is not wrong, it's required. I love that. Let me change the color here. I've been doing a lot of yellow. So let's break this down. Let's do a simple breakdown here. Okay, you've been studying Neville Goddard. You don't have to be a Neville Goddard fan to understand this. You assume the end. Now, what's the law of assumption really fast? Law of assumption is whatever you assume to be true has to happen into your world. So you assume the end, okay, what your assumption is, what your desire is, what do you want, no matter if it's your dream car, dream house, you want to be wealthy, dream job, dream career, whatever, okay? You assume the end, you feel your wish fulfilled, okay? You already have it, you believe you already have it. Number two is reality. It begins restructuring itself. It starts putting the puzzle pieces together so that dream house can come into your life. That's what I mean here. You see, people move, circumstances adjust, old conditions collapse. And number three is you interpret the movement as opposite. Because like in the second phase is when people start moving, when circumstances start to adjust and readjust, lots of times these circumstances we view as negative. And I'll get to my example. I have a wonderful example I went through. I'll get to it a little bit later on here. My example is really sums up what the law of inverse transformation is all about. Okay, so stay tuned for that. So you interpret the movement as opposite. This is what I mean. You want more money, you want to be wealthy, but you end up getting an unexpected bill, okay? You walk outside to get in your car, get ready for work, and you got 2 flipping flat tires. You understand? It's like you want to be wealthy, you're thinking wealthy, you're carrying yourself wealthy, and things keep on happening like this, okay? Just like you want a relationship, you want to attract your SP, but the opposite occurs. Someone pulls away from you, someone don't like you. You understand? Okay, you want better standards. You want to set better standards and boundaries and non-negotiables. You want better standards, but the opposite occurs. People keep on disappointing you. Okay, and this is kind of going into my example, but I'll wait on that. You basically set clear expectations, exactly what you want, but people just literally do the opposite. Understand? You want abundance. Abundance is my birthright. Abundance is infinite. Abundance is divine. Abundance is in all things. But the opposite occurs. Something breaks or goes wrong. Okay? And number 4, but when we talk about the opposite, what happens is we end up viewing, listen to this. We end up viewing the opposite. All these arrows represent the opposite. What we end up doing, we view the opposite as something negative, as something wrong. We don't view it as it's part of our path, it's part of our transformation. It has to happen. And the law of the inverse transformation, I really believe this is kind of that final bridge that I used to study a lot of wealthy people in the past, a long time ago. And I forget what book I read, but it doesn't really matter. But I started noticing a general theme among wealthy people is that they all, right before right before they became wealthy, right before their business took off, right before they became viral, whatever it is, whatever it was, even if it's law of attraction, law of assumption, you want your dream house, dream car, right before you got it, you went through like a major opposite. You went through a major disappointment, something so strong that wanted you to quit. Okay, this is kind of an example of the law of inverse transformation. Okay. Now, what did Neville taught about this? You see, Neville taught and he said, the world reshuffles itself by inverse transformation. It breaks what is consistent, inconsistent with the state you now occupy. So the key paradox, okay, the paradox with all this, the thing that looks like it's taking you away from your manifestation, that's a better way to describe it, is actually taking you toward it. That's why this is weird. Okay, this is why people throw in a towel. They think things are not working, but it is working. See, it's just our perception. I'll read it one more time so it's so powerful. Is that the thing that looks like it's taking you away what you're trying to manifest? Okay, the thing that looks like it's taking you away from manifesting your dream house, the thing that seems like it's taking you away from manifesting your SP, the thing that seems like it's taking you away from manifesting wealth, being a multimillionaire, the thing that seems like it's taking you away from manifesting a dream car is actually taking you toward it. You have to understand your old state, your old identity, the old you, Neville Goddard called it your old man, must die. And death often looks like chaos. You understand what's going on. It's like you're becoming that most successful version of you, but that old self is still flipping hanging on. Okay? That's what Neville Goddard would say. Your old state must die, and death often looks like chaos. Okay, your life goes through a chaotic moment.
Really quick here, friends. Do you want a challenge that's going to make every dream of yours come true?
You see, my friends, the issue is when you start trying to live life on your terms, you're doing everything right. See, that's the problem. That's how you feel. You're trying your hardest, but nothing is changing. Now, in the challenge, there's no fluff, there's no hype. It's just real transformation delivered daily. We are going to the core. We are going to the root cause why things are not working for you. All you got to do is go to the description, click see more. Everything will pop up and you will see the 30-day breakthrough challenge. Click the link and it will take you right over to that. Now, this is the fun part. Okay, let me tell you my Thailand gate story. This is an excellent example. It just happened to me. Honestly, I'm still going through it right now today. But this is an excellent example of the law of inverse transformation. This is probably the best example I have. One of the greatest examples I have. But anyway, my Thailand gate story, and I'm gonna sum it up very, very quickly so you get the premise of it, is that right now I'm in Thailand. I'm in Eng's house. And she kind of, around her property, around her house, she kind of has like a half done built cement wall that wasn't finished. So when we came up here in February, we ended up getting 2 puppies. So not right away, but we got the 2 puppies about 3 months ago. So once we got the puppies, eventually they started going to the road. And she didn't have a driveway gate yet because the wall wasn't done yet. So then I said, let's put in a driveway gate and to protect the puppies. Then we'll basically kind of do it in reverse. We'll build a really, really good driveway gate. Then we finish the front wall so everything matches up front. And besides putting in a cheap one, okay, because that was kind of the concept too, that in the beginning, Aang and her sister wanted a driveway gate so bad. They wanted it so bad, they wanted to put in a cheap one. So then I said no. The time I came around to put in a driveway gate, I said, okay, let's not put in a cheap one. Let's put in a really good one. That way it lasts a long time. It doesn't rust and stuff like that. Because with Thailand heat, the rain, the heat, the sun, things rust pretty fast. So anyway, long story short is I wanted to do the best thing for them. Now, even though technically this isn't my house, this isn't my land, I want to do the best thing for them. and I want to do the best thing, put in the best gate for them, make the make the front of the wall really nice, repaint it, restructure it, get it going, make it look flipping awesome. Okay, that's where I was coming from. Okay, then on top of it, we found a contractor. He ended up being the next door neighbor because for Thailand, he has a pretty decent house for Thailand. And I saw a gate that he built, and it was really super professional. I really liked it. So we went to him, and I explained to him. I gave all my standards and boundaries, non-negotiables. I said I want the best of the best. I don't care the cost. I don't care the money. I don't want nothing to rust. I don't want the metal to rust. And I want it painted and treated, whatever it's called, in construction, that it doesn't rust. The paint don't rust. The paint don't chip. All of that. Like I basically communicated that over and over and over and over and over, and communicated it or translated it for me over and over and over and over. But pretty much the opposite occurred. You know what I mean? Like all my hard work, all my just wanting to do the best thing for Ing and the house and stuff like that, put in an excellent gate. Okay. Carrying myself like as abundant, wealthy, being the $15 million man. You know what I mean? Carrying myself as that most successful version of me. And on top of that, having the standards and boundaries and communication there, I did everything. I did everything right. You understand what I'm saying? I did everything right. And the opposite occurred. Like 2 days after the gate was built, it rained in Thailand, and the gate started to rust. Not the whole thing, okay, probably about 20% of the gate. It started to rust. They did bad welds. We have these like wood panels. Most of them, they scratched most of them. They painted into them. I bought the most expensive paint to paint the wall, the cement wall. They literally watered it down, so it wasn't the actual color that I bought. So they did all types of crazy shit. You know what I mean? And plus I paid him decent money for it. I paid him really good money for it. You know what I mean? So like $1,500 in Thailand for a gate for it to rust in 2 days. I was pretty, honestly, I was pretty like, dude, what's going on? I did everything right. See, that's the frustrating phase. You did everything right. I did everything right. I did everything I could. And it came from a good place. It came from giving. It came from trying to do the best thing for other people. And it felt like, to me, it just felt like everything shifted. It went backwards. It felt like it was collapsing. Like then we sit back and we think, why is this happening? I don't understand. But see, this is the phase, and you might have something similar you're going through right now, but this is the phase where a couple things happen. Either you throw in a towel and you quit because you get so frustrated. You get so frustrated of the circumstance, then you start telling yourself, well, this stuff don't work. But what you end up doing, you go back to that old self. Okay, that's why I'm saying this is you're basically, even myself, you're basically at a crossroads. What decision are you going to make? Are you going to continue to move forward as the most successful version of you, or are you going to go off path and go back to your old self? How you would handle the issue. But other than that, let's go through this. Okay, I told you the story, told you the premise. Okay, so for me, I assumed I assumed abundance, excellence, acting from a higher identity. I wanted to do the best thing. You know what I mean? For other people. Okay. Not just do something shitty for them or do something half-ass or half cheap. I wanted to do the very best thing. But then the opposite occurred. The workers did sloppy work. The paint was ruined. Okay, now the paint on the wall was ruined. Okay, they basically ruined the paint on the metal because they kept on repainting it too much. Then I caught them using spray paint rather than the high quality paint, the galvanized paint I purchased. Then I called it too late when they painted a wall 2 coats, looked excellent, but they started to splatter black paint on the wall. The wall was kind of like a bluish gray, like a glossy bluish gray. It was an excellent color. And because they were being sloppy, really sloppy work, so they had to do a third coat. But when they did the third coat, I didn't catch them. They watered down the flipping paint, and it changed the color of the paint. Then it changed it from glossy to mate, kind of that, kind of that flat look. Then the rust showed up after the rain. So of course I felt flipping frustrated and disappointed. I mean, I really felt pissed off, quite honestly, because it wasn't cheap. You know what I mean? On top, it wasn't cheap. I didn't go cheap. Okay. See, this is a great example, like I said, of inverse transformation. See what was going on? My consciousness, your consciousness, chose higher standards. See, I chose higher standards, higher boundaries, higher non-negotiables. I really communicated them. So my world had to expose everything in my environment that didn't match my standard. See, that looks inverse. The opposite is happening, but it's actually the old pattern breaking down so the new pattern can appear. Like Neville will say, going back to Neville Goddard, you are seeing the shadow of the state leaving. That's what I'm saying. This is kind of a testing phase. This could, if you're going through something right now, this could be your last test before the breakthrough. This could be the last test that you get what you want. You know what I mean? And that's why I want to say, like, almost all wealthy people, all very successful people goes through this phase. And this is the law in a single sentence. Single sentence, 3 lines. When your inner world upgrades, your outer world will look wrong right before it becomes right. I love that. When your inner world upgrades, you're being that most successful version of you. Your outer world, your 3D world, will look wrong right before it becomes right. Right before you get what you want. Right before your breakthrough happens. I believe that's it. And the bottom line, this is the wrap up right here. Let me change the color. Sorry, because I know some of you are following along, and I like to change the color. That way it's not all yellow. The bottom line in the wrap up is this, and I love this wrap up, is when something goes opposite, you're not failing. I'm not failing. You're in transformation. This is why the worst looking moment, listen, this is why the worst looking moment is usually the moment right before the shift. I'm going to repeat that, but I'm going to put it in a different tone here. This is why your worst looking moment is usually the moment right before you get your dream house. It's usually the moment right before you get your dream car. Usually the moment right before your business takes off. You understand what I'm saying? You're going through that gunk phase, and it's like, how much can I take? You know what I mean? It's just like, it's like a flip flop. It's usually right before a breakthrough happens. And because, listen, the old state must break. Your old identity must break. The old you must break. Your old beliefs, your old thinking patterns must break. So the new state, the new you, the most successful version of you can rebuild. That's the law of inverse transformation, my friends. But other than that, tribe, just wanted to share that with you because when I was going through, I was kind of rereading some Neville stuff, and I came up how he was explaining the law of inverse transformation, and it was a little bit confusing because with some Neville material, some of his written material, books, manuscripts, sometimes he wrote very good and you could really understand it. And other times you read through it and you kind of have to reread his stuff. You have to kind of study his stuff for a while because he wrote very sophisticated. You know what I mean? Like some of his books, like when you're reading, you just like, you really got to pay attention because you're just like, where is he going with this? I mean, some chapters in his books, it's just like he dumps so much in the chapter. Sometimes in paragraphs, he dumps so much in one paragraph. Like sometimes it can be all over the place. But he talks a lot about this law. And that's why I wanted to kind of explain it here for you, because I really, really, truly believe that this is This happens right before a breakthrough happens. But the opposite is true too. When this is happening, this is the phase that most of us give up. This is a phase most of us throw in a towel. This is a phase that most of us say this doesn't work. Okay. And that's why I want to do this video, because if you're thinking that right now, okay, this is part of the process. This has to happen. That's why I said this is kind of like the laws of the universe is testing you a little bit. This is like God testing you a little bit. Like, you want to be wealthy, you want to be a multimillionaire, you want to be the $15 million man. Show me you're really serious. Show me, we're gonna put you through some obstacles. Show me how you're gonna handle these obstacles. Show me you're gonna handle them as a most successful version of you. Okay, that's why I say it's a little test. You know what I mean? But it has to happen. And the more I study people, and this is a long time ago, I've been doing this stuff for a long time, but when I used to study wealthy people, that's one common trend I saw in all their stories. Now, of course, they went through different things, but they all had a very similar story. Okay, meaning that they all had that immense feeling of giving up right before their breakthrough. And this is the law of inverse transformation. Is right before your breakthrough, the opposite starts happening to you. But we end up taking the opposite as a negative instead of a positive. Like, dude, I'm shedding the old me. Okay. I mean, you're basically toe to toe to your dream life, toe to toe to what you want, but you just can't see it because it's invisible. You understand? Sorry. But anyway, my friends, tribe, YouTube fam, comment below. I'd love to hear from you. Let me know your story. Let me know if you're going through something like that. You're going through like a gunk phase. Okay. Because you have to go through it. Remember, life is happening for you, not to you. Life is happening for your benefit, not to you. You have to understand that. Okay. When you start repeating these things in your head and when you're going through something you perceive as negative, just say, life is happening for me. Life is happening for my benefit. What would the most successful version of me do in this situation? You understand? Just like my gate story. Yes, it's frustrating. Yes, people ignored me. Yes, people ignored my standards and boundaries and just did the opposite. You understand? Yes, it cost a lot of money for Thailand to put up a really nice gate for Ang and stuff like that. Okay, but at the same time, really, when you think about it, yes, it's frustrating. Yes, it pisses you off. And what Neville, even Neville, whatever, I don't have to even quote Neville Goddard. Lots of times people think we can't have bad feelings, we can't have bad emotions, and that's not what it's about. Okay, you can have bad emotions. You can have a mental breakdown once in a while. You can. No, we don't have to handle every situation perfectly. Okay, but what happens is we don't stay in that state very long. You understand what I'm saying? We tend to snap out of it, then we handle it as the most successful version of ourselves. You understand? So the kind of short end of the stick here, the short end of the story is that, how would the most successful version of me handle it? Okay, after I got over being pissed off. Okay, the most successful version of me would just, is accept it and fix the issue. If that means paying to fix the issue, paying for the improvements, whatever, that's what the most successful version of me would do. And that's what the most successful version of you would do. If you want to be wealthy, my friends, you want to be, if you're wealthy, you're a multimillionaire. Yes, things are going to piss you off. Yes, things are going to make you mad and upset. Okay, those are just true, real emotions or whatever. But once you kind of got over it, it's not going to affect you because you got enough money. You got money to fix it. Okay, that's the ultimate thing, is that's abundance. You know what I mean? That you got the means to fix it. I'll just fix it. Okay. Yes, it sucked, but they didn't follow my directions. They did the opposite. They didn't do the best thing, but it's in order for me to do the best thing. You understand? You understand what I'm saying, my friends? But anyway, I don't want to be rattled on and on and on about this, but make sure you comment below. Love to hear your comments. Remember, I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.